What's good, family? I'm Joe.
And I'm Amani, and this is
Love Out Loud with the
Dudes.
Dudes. Listen, that last episode we gave y'all, we was like, okay, we gotta give y'all another one. Like, have to, right? But first, I gotta start with a prayer. Dear Lord, we ask that you touch the hearts of every ear that is assigned to our voice. We pray that they hear us, they hear you but see us in a way that they have never heard you before. We pray that this gives the people the strength and the courage to do what you placed in their heart, and that they be free from whatever is holding them back. In the mighty name of Jesus, we give thanks for what you have done and what you're about to do, and we say amen.
Amen.
Woo! So, a lot of people have asked us, well, not even really asked us, some of them have, but I understand that it is cause to want to know how Amani and I are in this great space and how we weren't in that great space before. But this is the story on forgiveness. Lock in, because this one right here is going to be a lot. Amani and I were great. We were great. We were figuring it out. Like, when I tell y'all all of the stuff that we went through that we shouldn't have went through at like 20, 21 years old, like from, all type of stuff, like sleeping in cars. We had a place, but we only had one car. So I worked the
Day shift.
day shift,
And I work the night shift.
and she worked the night shift. So I would sleep in the car her whole shift and then go to work, and she would sleep in the car waiting on me to get off. So we would only have like the 8 hours of the afternoon shift to really live our lives, because we was doing that. Like,
Yeah.
the car had no heat.
No.
It was a 2005 Malibu. And if anybody know about cars, they had electrical problems. All like Malibus had electrical problems, but didn't have any heat. We used to cover up in a blanket, but we did what we had to do.
For sure.
And this came from a place of us understanding each other, like those car talks I told you that we had from the very beginning. We understood each other's hearts. We understood that we really had nobody to turn to. So when we were together, it really was just us.
Yeah.
It really was just us committed to each other. And I did not have the best examples of how to be a boyfriend, a person to love. I did not really know how to love. I knew how to stand on my word and the things that I knew I was going to do and say that I was going to do. I knew that because I learned accountability at an early age. But as far as like being emotionally there, I did not know how to do that. I was never taught that. My dad was a provider, but he wasn't a nurturer or a lover. My mom was always a hard worker, and I never really received at that time the love that I knew I needed to be able to give to someone else. But we were figuring it out. We were about 2 years in. We was like 2 apartments. Um,
I'll give some backstory too.
okay, go ahead.
So I um I had a very estranged relationship with my father. I never really had a serious relationship. And then I never had an example of a serious relationship as well. So a lot of the things that we were going through was not only my first time going through them, but it was my first time like seeing it, living it, experiencing it. I had aunts and uncles who were married, so or married and in long-term relationships, right? So I would see them at holidays and family events, and people at holidays and family events are totally different than their everyday life, right? Because you don't often bring those things with you, the things that you struggle with, the
It's
things
like
that
social
you,
media.
right, the things that you go back and forth with, you don't bring those with you. So when things are happening in life, in your everyday life, you feel like well, I can't say this word.
Anomaly.
Thank you. Like the only person this is happening to. All of the examples that I had around me, I wasn't seeing them have issues, debates, arguments, frustrations, like not getting along, normal things that happen in life as to become one. So that was my experience. I was working to figure out how to be present and be all of the things that I thought a girlfriend should be at the time.
And for me, it was more so that like sometimes I did not do my part, but at the same time, like I was doing my part. I've always had dreams. I always had goals. My dreams always been bigger than anybody could ever like imagine. And when I used to tell people my dreams, they never understood it. But I always kept the faith, like I know I was going to do it. So it's like in these times where like I was at my lowest, or that I wasn't all of who I knew I could be, it was frustrating to me. And looking back, I know it was frustrating on her, but I didn't really know who I was. I did not know who I was at the time, and I was still trying to learn and figure myself out. I was only 21. And but I was committed to figuring out with her. Like I wasn't a person who had like a lot of girlfriends. Um, I could say like my parents maybe met like I only had two girlfriends in my life. All the rest of the women that I dealt with, they was just friends and associates. But they knew that because I never claimed them. Because I was intentional on all the things that I've ever done. So money was my first, and I'm being committed because I know it's not the best. I know it's not what we thought it was going to be. Me being committed to the situation, I'm like, we going to figure this out. Even in the frustration times, like, I knew the things that what I was trying to say, like how we talked about being on the attack. I knew that I was not trying to attack her, but that's how she received it. And in her receiving that, we had a lot of friction. And, but I'm like, I can only tell you from where I'm coming from. But I really realized too, it was my delivery. Like my dad was somebody who was stern, who only spoke how he wanted to be spoken. He didn't even care how you felt about him speaking to you. He just said whatever he had to say. And that's where I learned that from. Um, my dad also taught me how to complain. I never knew as a man that you were not supposed to complain. You just were supposed to make it happen. I always saw my father make it happen, but I saw the complaint first. So as I grew older, I realized you just don't even, the complaint don't even matter. You just wasting your breath and time and energy on that. So you don't even need to complain. Just make it happen. Because as a man, that's what you're supposed to do. You got to make stuff happen. You just got to keep going. So as I'm growing, I have now understood where my faults and flaws were, but in the moment of it, I did not. So we were in our second apartment together. And it was just a lot of friction. I had lost my job. I had worked at Popeyes. Like, this a whole nother story, but briefs. I never was a kid who had worked at Popeyes or worked at fast food restaurants. Like growing up, I could never get a job there. So I was always telling myself, I ain't never working in a fast food restaurant. That's just ain't in me. Lose my job, that's the only place that will hire me. I applied for everything, but that place was the only place that hired me. I'll tell you about that story on another time. But I was working there for about 4 months. The money that I was bringing in before wasn't the money I was bringing in at fast food restaurant, but I was just doing what I could. And I know that led to some frustration to her because as her being like a strong black woman, like, what I got this nigga here for? He can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this. Which I understood. But for me, I'm 22. Like, we got bills, we got real bills, but I'm doing what I could. Could I have done more? Yes. But my mind was focused on like my dream. Like, I wasn't trying to go all the way far left from my dream. If this is what I got to do to get further, I'm willing to do that. But I'm not going all the way over there because I didn't want to get too far left that I couldn't come back right to my dream, because I never wanted to give up on my dreams. So.
And I think that's something as well, because you not wanting to go the far left and give up your dreams, but not being able to articulate that in the moment left gray area. It left a lot of open space.
And I agree, looking back. But at the same time, in that space that we were in, you weren't open to receive nothing.
That's true.
So I'm just, in my mind, internalized everything. Like, women are way more vocal than men. Men just gonna put their head down and keep it to themselves and just try to do what they can do. So that's how I was raised. That's how I was taught. And so from there, we were having friction. We was having arguments over the most pettiest stuff. Like, I could breathe wrong. What's that for? All I did was breathe. But I realized, like, it was stress because I did not want to be in that situation. I did not like the situation that we were in. I really hated it because I'm like, what am I here for? And she would just do whatever she wanted to do. She felt as though, since she was paying most of the bills, that she could just say or do anything. And me being the man, I wasn't going for none of that. Like, I'm like, I don't care how you feel. Do what you doing. This us say, but like, that's why I say, like, we really were married before we were married, because I should not have went through none of that. But I'm being committed to her because this is what I was taught to do. And it got to the point where Amani asked me, she's asked me, have I ever cheated on her? And I was like, no. And then she asked me again. Then she asked me again, like a couple days later, a week later, 2 weeks later. And then one day we was laying in bed, and I asked her, I said, have you ever cheated on me? Like, it just came upon me to ask her that. And she told me yes. And it crushed me. It crushed me to the point where I wanted to put the pillow over her head. Like this, me being vulnerable. Like, that's how I felt in that moment. Like, I'm like, no way you did this to me. And you've been laying next to me and sleeping peacefully. No way. I couldn't stomach it because I'm like, how? I'm doing all of this for us. What in my wheelhouse I knew to do at the time, and you go do that? And I couldn't deal with it. Like, at that point, like, I was done. Like, I was done. I was like, okay, just give me some time so I can figure myself out so I can get up out your way, because I don't want to be here no more. But I'm going to tell you this, before that, Amani told me probably 3 months before that she was done with the relationship. I did not know that meant that she telling me that's what that really meant, that she about to go do whatever she want to do, because I was still there. looking back, I should have left then. I wouldn't have put myself in that situation.
And I also think, looking back, I could have handled things a lot differently than I handled them.
Of course. Like not doing it.
Of course.
Right.
And I wish I hadn't. And it is it's like growing up, you hear about things that people do or go through, and you hear them say, like, I regret doing that, or I wish I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my biggest regrets in life.
Well, you can let it go.
I know. I'm better now. Like I'm better now. We've moved forward. We're married. It was more like just the person that I was and how I had to see myself. You get what I'm saying? Like, not even, of course, it was something that happened to you. And yes, it was something that I did to you. But how I had to see myself after that. Like, I had to forgive myself for that, which was also a whole season that I had to go through. Because it's like, man, how could you become the things that you didn't want to be? Like, how can you let anger, frustration, stress, anxiety, life make you into someone you didn't want to be? Like, how can those things press you into that? And I had to then sit with that as well, because I became somebody that I did not want to be. And then I also had hurt you in the process.
Crushed me.
So it took some time for me to forgive myself for that.
And it took me a long time to forgive
like
you.
All them longs.
Man,
it did. It took forever.
Man,
it took forever.
I didn't even think I had it in me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold you. I'm being 100% honest. Amani came to me we were split up 7 years. Amani may have come to me in them 7 years, maybe 8-9 times, and tried to make this thing work again. I'm like, I'm not going. Like, I'm okay. Like, we talk about this in the book as well.
Yeah.
I went once I moved out from the apartment with her, I went to go stay with my dad. My dad is a grudge master. He is still holding grudges from 1978. This is no lie.
For sure.
Some of the people my dad is holding grudges with are no longer here, and he's still holding a grudge with them. So one day my dad comes to me and say, quote, I forgive her if you go back to her. I said, what you mean? He said, I know how much you love that girl. I mean, I love you, but I know how much you love that girl. And if I'm gonna always be on your side. If she, as long as she don't do my son the way she did my son, I'm okay with you going back to her. And I'm like, where did this come from? My dad has never forgiven anyone. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I'm all right, because I ain't going back to her. It took...
And I knew, like, and that's why it hurt so much when I had to sit in what I did, because I knew you were the person I was supposed to be with. So it's like, not only are you the person that I'm supposed to be with, but I hurt you. And then I have to sit here not being with you, knowing you're hurt and affected and damaged and because of this.
Man, what?
And it's like, and I know we're supposed to be together at the same time.
All the way outside. And I'm like, no way, right? So then I wind up, years go by still, I'm just outside. And it got to a point where the moment for me, like, we even had a trip to Atlanta, a road trip, where for me, it was me taking a friend down there. Money was going to move to Atlanta, start a new life down there. I'm like, okay, well, I could at least take you down there. I'll drive you down there because I always been on the road, so it's not an issue for me to drive. I really was in a space of Not even trying to get back with her. Wasn't trying to do nothing with her. Was just down there to be a friend. And so things had happened. I got sick. Amani had to take care of me while I was sick. And
on the trip.
On the trip. We wasn't seeing eye to eye then.
No.
And I got sick out of no. I don't know what I touched. I don't know what happened, but I never got a cold this quick. It just, sickness came over me. And she had to take care of me. And then we had a whole long drive back where we was really arguing like, this it. I don't never want to hear from you again. The entire drive back from Atlanta to Detroit. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go my way. I'm going to go your way. Like, and you go your way. Then on top of that, like, we even had a sit down where she called me. We went to Royal Oak, and she called me like, yeah, I can't do this no more. Don't ever call me. Don't do none of this. Like, I'm through with you. Woo, woo, woo. Like, this is it. And I'm like, you could have told me this over the phone. Like, you had me drive all the way over to tell me this. And I really was mad because I'm like, you made me waste my gas for real to come tell me this.
Chill.
Nah, for real.
Like, relax. Like...
So, I'm giving y'all the real, right? So, I'm like, I'm all right. I'm cool. Went on about our way.
For me, I wanted to be able to move forward. And I kept hearing that he was my person. God kept telling me that Joe was the person I was supposed to be with. And I'm like, well, Lord, Joe don't feel that way. So, like, you need to talk to him. And the Lord was like, nope, you got to do this. Nope, you got to do this. Nope, you got to do this. So year after year, I'm like, okay, well, here I go again. Hey, Joe. And he like, no. And I'm like, okay. So I leave again and I go back to God. Like, I just want to move forward. And he like, no, Joe's your husband. And I'm like, but the man just said that it was a no-go. There was no way we're getting back together. So is it this Joe or like, is there another Joe? Am I not hearing correctly? And he like, no, go back and tell him this. So a year passed, 2 years passed. I go back, I'll say something else. And Joe like, nope, I'm not hearing it. So how we ended up on the road trip is I asked God, I said, okay, over the last years, I have been doing exactly what you have asked me. And Joe has not moved. I said, so I want to be free of Joe. If Joe is who I'm supposed to be with, then make it so. But if not, then I want to be able to move on and find the person for me so that I can move on in my life. So God said, okay, go on the trip. So this entire trip, we had conversation, right? Like, why you do that? How long? With who? Where was you at? Like every single detail of everything we talked about on this trip. So that's the frustration, because there was definitely friction the entire trip. And Joe got sick on the trip. And I said, not he got sick. Not I got to take care of him. This person said they don't want to be with me. Who you keep telling me is my husband, needs assistance. Like, now I got to help him. And the whole time, Joe like, yeah, my friend. I said, if you say my friend one more time, like, I am literally going to come over there. Because I'm ready to move on. Like, if we going to be friends, then so be it. But stop telling me that this is my husband. And then Joe talking about my friend. You got one more time to call me your friend, and then I'm going to come over to this table. So Joe got sick on the trip, and I had to take care of Joe on the trip, even though Joe was barely even talking to me, wanting to have a conversation, anything. And on my way to the store to get medicine for him when he wasn't feeling well, I had a conversation with God. And I said, Lord, I'm ready to be free of this. I've done everything you asked me to do. I've said everything that you need me to say. I've done all the extras that I needed to do. But at this point, my hands are tied. So this is my last hurrah. This is all I have to give. After this, I want to be free of this. And I went back. I took care of Joe. We drive back home. I say everything else that I needed to say. And we get here, and I was like, I just want to let you know that it's over. Like, it's done. You don't have to worry about hearing from me anymore. I've received the peace that I needed to have. I've done all that I needed to do, and I'm free of this now. It was dead. Like, unresuscitated. Like, dead. It was already dead on his end, but then it died on my end as well. So it was dead. I mean, like,
completely.
This was the first time in 7 years I had actually blocked Joe. Like, I blocked him on everything. I was fully moving on. Like, I was ready to pursue other ventures at this point. So, you want to go from there?
Yeah, so, and then that's what we was doing. She did her, I was doing me. And, like me, I still wasn't into church at this point. Really ain't no God for real. So, I'm living my life. I'm at this point now where, like, I'm going to therapy because I'm really feeling lost and I'm tired of feeling lost. And my therapist was telling me, like, well, the pastor you telling me about, the word that you getting from the Lord, it sounds like it helping you. So it got to the point where I was just telling what I heard in church, what I heard God tell me, right? So one day I'm waiting on my therapist to come online on Zoom. This during the pandemic. And he ain't show up. So I'm frustrated because I'm like, all right, I'm to the point where I'm looking for answers everywhere. And I just cried out to God. I said, God, I'm tired. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I'm tired. I don't like feeling like this. I know I'm called to do more, but whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I heard her name. I was like, what? No way. But I called her because I'm like, I was shocked. But when I knew it was him, I knew I heard him say to me, Amani, I called her. She ain't answered because I was blocked. I'm like, oh, Lord, I tried. He was like, no, you know how to dial somebody private, star 67. So then I star 67 her number, left a voicemail. Her family was always great to me.
I was not going. When I saw the number popped up, I already knew who it was. And I said, we already talked about this. Like, it was just, what was it, 6 weeks?
Something like that.
It's a wrap. Like, don't come calling now. We just had this conversation. We went take a trip. You said it was good. You was good. So why are you calling this phone, leaving voicemails? I'm good.
And I called that voicemail. Then I'm like, all right, she ain't doing that. So I did some other stuff. Like I got her like 100 roses or something like that. She ain't take them. I gave them to her aunt because she wasn't coming to the door.
My aunt took the roses. She called. She said, hey, you got some flowers over here. I said, please distribute them among the family. Like, I'm good. Y'all ain't got to worry.
But needless to say, I talked to her, I told her I forgive her. I mean, I heard from the Lord, this is what I've been doing. It's been working for me ever since. I'm glad that we was able to overcome all of this so we can be a blessing to other people. I'm grateful. Like, me too. It didn't happen the way I thought it would happen.
At all.
But it could have always been worse, and it wasn't. Sure. So for what it is and what it was, I'm grateful.
Me too.
But forgiveness is key. You have to forgive yourself first. You have to forgive the other person. Then you got to understand what type of space they were in when they did it. That's really what helps me understand and help me with forgiveness, is that I question the person's mental state while they were doing it, or what their upbringing was, or what their thought process was behind whatever decision they choose to make.
Experiences.
Yeah, because in that you're able to say, okay, well, the person only did this for this. It does not justify whatever they did.
Absolutely.
But it allows you to put yourself in their shoes. And you put yourself in their shoes and it's something that you can reason with, then forgiveness is really inevitable. And it's like understanding who God is and understanding that we all fall short every day. I understood that God forgives me all the time. So if I'm going to live a godly life, then forgiveness is part of it. And why not forgive someone that I spent a lot of my life with, who's helped me with experiences? Amani took me on my first plane ride to San Diego. So I pray that this helped, because us being vulnerable isn't easy. It ain't easy at all.
And there's burden on the person who lost the trust as well. Because if somebody gives you an opportunity to start over, start fresh, have a new slate or a new opportunity with them, whatever you did, you have to do everything in your power to not do it again. Because it's one thing to forgive somebody and they make a change. It's another thing to forgive someone and then they do it again, because that is habit and behavior. All of us have things that we've done, we've learned, and we were able to grow from. But when we don't make changes, then we are showing what our behavior is and what our character is. So there is a heavy burden on the person that lost the trust, because not only does your habits have to change, whatever you were doing when you did it, but you also have to understand that there will be a lot of questions that you will have to answer as well on the back end of that, because you do have to reestablish trust and you do have to rebuild trust as well.
Sure.
So you have to be even more of an open book than you were in the beginning as you work your way back into someone's trust and opening their heart back up to you again.
And understand it take time.
For sure.
It's going to take time, because no one thought you would even do that to mistreat them because you saying that you got them for whatever reason, right? And then you doing that and you failed the trust part aspect. Then even if you have a sincere apology, because that's really what you need. First, you need accountability. I was wrong.
Ownership.
Yep, you gotta own the fact that what you did was incorrect. It was foul, whatever, and it disobeyed the trust that y'all had with each other. Then it comes with a sincere apology, and then it comes with changed behavior. And those three things, and then comes time, because even if the change behavior, you can't do something for 2 months. Say, look, okay, I'm doing it. No, it don't work that way. It's gonna be a constant battle. Not even a battle. It's gonna be a constant thing what you need to do to show. It's gonna be a constant action of doing. Like everything is going to be a constant action of doing. It don't just stop because it gets to a certain point.
Yeah, because you now have to establish new behavior. So, in establishing new behavior, is like if you had a house that you both built up together and then you bulldozed it and knocked it down. Now you have to rebuild this house. So it's gonna take time. It's gonna take materials. It's gonna take
solid foundation.
You got to build that solid foundation all over again. So just imagine a bunch of bricks everywhere and you taking the time to put those together. It is a timely process, and there's nothing that you can do to speed it up, and each person is different on how long that takes as well.
And work to not throw it up in their face, because if you forgive somebody and you say that you forgive them, you cannot make them always think about what was going on in a standpoint of, well, you shouldn't have did it. That's true. We already got past the fact that they shouldn't have did it. But you say you forgave me, so you got to let some of that hurt go.
Yeah.
But also the person who did the hurt, the deed, understand you may catch a few strays. It's like it ain't warranted, but understand that if it come with that, it just come with it because you put yourself in that situation to catch them. But at the same time, the other person work to not throw them strays out there.
You gotta make it through it too.
Yeah,
it's tough on both parts. It's work on both parts, but
because if you're not going to forgive them, you don't have to forget, but you really do gotta like move on past it and forget. Like it happened, yes, but at the same time, forgiveness is look like change behavior, and it looks like that I'm not gonna throw it up in your face, because if you continue to throw something up in someone's face, then they like, you really didn't forgive me, and y'all should have just moved on from the point of where y'all were and let all that time pass that you thought y'all was working to a place of rebuilding trust. And it's gonna be a lot of just empty space or a waste of time, or how you gonna feel if you don't really truly forgive them with your whole heart, you know.
And if you're not able to, that's okay as well.
Exactly.
Like, if you feel like
you
don't have to. If you feel like whatever they did was too far gone and outside of the realm of what you're comfortable with, you don't have to let them back around you or back in your life or bring them back into your space either. You can have a boundary line that says, okay, this was our agreement. You avoided the agreement, so now I'm moving forward without you.
You have the right to empower yourself in that way. And that's where I felt that I was at, because I used to live by that Jay-Z quote. I gotta live with the fact you did me wrong forever. That was in my heart. Like, I really felt that way, because I'm not, in no way I'm forgiving her for this, because I know who I am. And I know what I was doing, and I know where my heart was. And the fact that that was the place that I was put in, I really wasn't in a place to forgive. And when I changed my heart to actually forgive and realize, like, all right, this is what it gotta be, because and in it being dead, it was at the point to where, like, it was nobody but God, because
for sure.
It was like, this was like like Lazarus all over again. Like, this is that type of resurrection, because everybody around us knew it was dead. Like, everybody. And now it's like,
for the first time, like, from the first time since we split, that was the first time everyone around us on both sides knew it was over. Like, there was not
a chance.
Reconciliation. There was not a chance. There was not anything. Like, it was a wrap. So imagine their surprise.
Man, when I call and everybody and say, hey, like, I called her dad, like, how would you feel if I proposed to Money? And he's like, you would be the best person to do so. I would love having you as a son. And I said, okay. I talked to her moms, and everybody was like, knew who I was as a person, so they were happy. But the fact that it was happening was like, wait a minute. But it really kind of showed everybody around us that you really could come back from almost anything with if you really committed and loving each other to and
you take ownership, and you own what happened, and you are able to exhibit forgiveness, and you are able to exhibit change behavior. You can move past it.
And like, I don't have no resentment in my heart. Like, I don't have like no, like, I'm gonna get her back in 5 years. Like, none of that. Like, I wouldn't have done any of this if I was going to do any of that, you know. It's who you just gotta have integrity about yourself, you know. No matter what someone has done to you, there gotta be certain things that you just would not do, you know. So that is my piece on the whole thing. I'm glad that I forgave you, because you really showed me life in which I did not know it to be. And I'm grateful, because it allows me to grow to actually be who I'm called to be. There's nobody I would want to do this life with besides you. I'm honored to be your husband. And I'm excited to see where God takes us. Because for all of our pain that we endure, I'm excited to see where he takes us. I love you, Mrs. Do.
You tried to make me cry.
Being honest.
You tried to make me cry. I love you too. And I'm blessed to be on the other side of this, because I know how much hurt and pain we both felt, and how much hurt I caused you. And I'm blessed to be on the other side of this now and living every day with you. And I'm grateful for you. Like, I love you. I love all the things that all of our experiences, everything that makes us us, everything that our journey, like,
we built for it.
Yeah, and this helped prepare us for everything that's
to come. Yeah. There's nothing that can that can't waver, nothing. Like, no way. So I'm grateful for you. I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. So we hope this, I got lipstick everywhere now. We hope this was helpful for anyone who is struggling to forgive, or learning how to forgive, or needing to forgive, or needing to be forgiven as well.
Accountability, apology, change behavior.
And time.
Accountability, Apology, change behavior, and time. It's the equation for forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be tough. You're going to get a lot of questions along with it. You're going to have to take a lot of ownership, and you're going to have to put on your big girl or your big boy pants, and you're going to have to stand there and deal with it because you did do something to someone else.
And if you want to learn what accountability looks like, tune in for another episode. We got you on what accountability looks like in our relationship, how we learn from it, and how we now deliver it. So this has been great. We love y'all. Until next time, love from the dudes.
Peace.